Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be organizing Foundations of Rome, designed by Emerson Matsuchi and published by Arcane Wonders. This is a fully sleeved deluxe edition copy of the game that includes all current content for Foundations of Rome with no lid lift that's organized to get gameplay started as soon as possible. If you have any questions about anything you see here, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you're looking for links to any of the things we talk about in the video, please take a look in the description. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. Let's get started organizing Foundations of Rome. Before we begin, I do want to mention that we do not use the mini box for the Gardens of Ceres expansion. All of the solo content will be stored in the main game box. And we've also replaced all the cardboard tokens with the metal coins. But first off, let's lift the lid, and to actually help with lifting the lid, there are these little notches that are on the shorter sides of the boxes here. So you put your finger down there and lift it up like so. Sorry that it's not in frame here. This filming angle is a little weird. So we'll go ahead and lift the top off. Underneath the lid, you'll see that we actually don't see the components inside here. We're going to need to shift it sideways because for actually speeding up the gameplay purposes, all of your trays are stored on the side like so. Each set of components is stored in its own individual tray. You got all the different player colors here, the monument pieces, and then your every game components. And you only need to take out those player components based on who's actually playing. So you can leave a lot in this organizer. I really like how the trays are stacked here and you're only going to pull out what you need. You will need to take this monuments box from the top though. It is a little bit fragile, which is why it's on the top here, because some of the pieces do stick out a bit more than the player components. Let's start off by taking a look inside of the monuments container here, and we'll simply pull the tray out like so. As you can see, we've kept a lot of the foam padding inside of the core game here. It doesn't inhibit the gameplay at all, and it just adds for additional protection for some of these pieces that are going to be sticking out. I really like this because it keeps things nice and snug, and once again, it does not inhibit the setup at all. It does just kind of obscure the monuments, but when you pop off this lid here, you can see everything underneath perfectly. Feel free to pause the video if need be, because each of these monuments has a plastic piece here in black that you're going to need to affix to each one. If you look at the back of the rulebook, it'll tell you the exact layout, or you can use the one here. You'll need to affix this here, press it in nicely, and keep it nice and snug so that you can see the effects of each of these monuments when they're built. You'll only need a certain handful of these monuments if you decide to play with that expansion. Otherwise, you can just leave these to the side. You may not even need them for your first couple of games. Those are all the components in the monuments box. We'll keep that lid back on top here and just put these to the side for now. That brings us to our different player trays, and we'll just take a look at one of them because all 5 are organized exactly the same way. Let's take a look at the purple one here. Let's lift off the plastic lid on our player tray, and inside you'll see that we have, very similar to the monument box, an assortment of different buildings with these little plastic tags on them. Once again, now may be a good time for you to pause the video so you can affix these different plastic markers to the different building types. Overall though, I really like the way that these pieces are organized. You have all your treasury buildings, your population buildings, and then your different point scoring buildings at the top here. And underneath each of these buildings, you have a reminder of what they provide, as well as the victory points they'll be worth at the end of each round. That way you don't have to actually look at the board to see what you're earning. You'll also have 2 plastic protectors here that you'll use to store your markers for your different monuments, as well as the plots of lands that you own throughout the game. You'll just simply leave those plastic markers like so when you're storing the game, they're not going to fly around. The last pair of components are going to be sitting a little loose at the top here. When you actually store the game, you'll have this large bubble here that will keep the components in place. The first components are a pair of markers. These are for scoring your victory points, as well as your population. And then we have the tokens for the trading and stealing expansion. You'll need to have 2 of these for each player, and you'll put them onto their appropriate side based on the different expansion that you decide to play with. So that's everything in one of these player trays. Let's go ahead and put back our for every player components for that trading and stealing expansion, and then your population and victory points marker, and then we'll cover it up by putting that plastic tray on top like so. We'll put this one to the side, but I'm not going to remove these other 4 because they're all organized the exact same way. Our last tray here is the use every game tray. We'll slide it out like so, and it's going to hold a lot of our cards, our boards, and tokens and coins that we'll be using in pretty much every single game. Let's lift the plastic lid like so, and on top you'll have your deeds for sale board. This is going to hold all of your cards and the current values to the different deeds, as well as reminders of how to score at the end of each era. Go ahead and put this in a place that's accessible to all players. Underneath that board, you'll have your main game board. This is going to feature two distinct sides, one with this larger area, that's for the 5-player game, and on the other side, you'll have your 2 and 3-player board, once again denoted by this smaller size and the highlights on the outside here. We'll go ahead and move that to the side for now. Underneath the boards, we have our 2 rulebooks for the main game, as well as all of your modules and expansions, as well as the solo mode for the game. Go ahead and put these in an easy access place if you need to reference those rules. We then have our recess tracking board, which is going to score all of your victory points as well as your population. So go ahead and put that in a central area as well. Each player will put one of those cubes onto each of them. And now we get into the main content of the tray, including all of your cards, your coins, your tokens, and then the components needed for the solo mode as well as the cooperative expansion. Before we begin, let's talk about the sleeves that we use for the game. We use the Ultra Pro Matte Deck Protector sleeves. I really like the way that they shuffle and they feel, and you have a nice matte finish to reduce the glare. Really recommend these. Once again, links in the description of this video. There are 178 cards in the game, so you're going to need 2 packages of these 100-pack sleeves. Speaking of cards, let's take a look at the cards. In this section, you're going to have all of your 2-player cards. They're gray on the sides like so, and they say 2+ players on the bottom. So you'll sleeve those up and just place them all in this bottom well. Next to those, you have your other player count cards. You've got your 3-player with this blue siding, you've got your 4-player with this purple siding, and then you have your 5th player with this red siding. So once again, just keep them all grouped. You'll need them based on the player count. And now we get to some of the expansion and module content cards. Starting in this upper left corner, we have all of your player role cards. These are going to give you different abilities that you'll choose at the start of the game, as well as the invocation cards, which can give you ongoing effects or extra ways to earn points. They'll get shuffled into the deck of Ds. And then after that, we have some objective cards, which can score you a couple of points here for doing some specific task to give you some direction at the start of your game. So go ahead and put those in that upper left corner. And in this last section, you'll have all of your player reference cards, 5, 1 for each of the players, as well as your monument cards if you're playing with that expansion, and then your cooperative expansion card and solo expansion cards. They'll all fit snugly into the upper right corner. We've got a silica gel packet in this upper right corner for freshness, and then our first player marker in the form of this giant statue. Now, once again, we've replaced all of the cardboard components with the metal ones provided in the Deluxe edition. In the center wells here, you'll have your $1 coins as well as your $3 coins. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and populate each player with 5 of these starting coins to get gameplay started that much quicker. And then we get to the bottom right corner here, which is going to store your solo and cooperative expansion content. In this black bag here, you'll have all of your garden tokens for the solo mode. You'll be putting these on the board in order to run the automa and see how it scores and tracks its population. Just punch them all out and put them into this bag, and they're ready to go. And underneath that, you'll have all of the building tiles for the Will of the Console cooperative expansion, and an extra silica gel packet in there for freshness. And that's everything in our card and token and every game organizer. Let's go ahead and pack it up. First off, let's put that first player marker, that silica gel packet, and then our remaining coins into our organizer here. We'll place our solo bag over the cooperative tiles, all of our deed cards for the different player counts, and then all of our alternative modes and player aid cards. We'll place our population and victory point tracker on the left side here, covering a little bit of that solo bag to keep everything snug. We'll place our rulebook as well as our solo rules, followed by our central game board and our deed purchase area. We'll cover that up with the plastic lid, and then we'll slide our components back into that right side. We'll put any remaining player trays into the top like so, followed by our monument expansion with those foam cubes on top. I'm actually going to flip this to the side for this, just because it's a bit hard to do this while sideways. With all of our trays inside, now we just turn it on its side like so, and then place our lid on top. And that is organizing Foundations of Rome. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your copy of Foundations of Rome? What do you think of the game so far? What do you think of the solo mode? Have you gotten a chance to play with any of the modules? Which one is your favorite? What do you think of the wash on the miniatures? Did you get the Deluxe edition? Is this one you're excited to try out? We'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching SideGame Strong.